When it comes to motorsport, Formula One and IndyCar are like the Beyonce and Jay-Z of the racing industry. While both are racing series, they aren't quite the same thing. However, they also aren't quite different from each other. Welcome back to F101, and in today's video, we will explore the similarities and differences between Formula One and IndyCar. Some of these facts might shock you, so definitely don't go anywhere. Number 1. Teams. In 2022, Formula One has 10 teams competing in the series, with each of them having 2 drivers on the track. These include teams that left their markings in history such as Ferrari and McLaren, or teams like Mercedes and Red Bull that have risen to power over the last couple of decades. Meanwhile, IndyCar racing is a little more complicated, since most of the teams run few of the races in the calendar like Dragon Speed and Parada Autosport, and some are full-time teams in the likes of Team Penske, Andretti Autosport and Arrow McLaren. Each team has the choice to have from a single driver until up to 6, and not every driver has to compete in all the races. Number 2. Race weeks. Both series start the race week with free practice rounds. In these rounds, the teams try their best to set up the cars to be the fastest on the track. After the practice come the qualifying rounds, where both series have 3 rounds of qualifying and the weekends with the actual race. In IndyCar, the qualifying round depends on the track. In an oval track, each car is given priority by a blind draw and has 2 consecutive laps that are both timed combined. Meanwhile, on a street course, there are 3 rounds of qualifying. The cars are divided into 2 groups for the first segment, with only 6 cars from each group passing on to the next one. The same principle goes for the second segment, with only 6 cars passing in the final qualifying round, where each car is given fresh new tires. Formula One, however, is simpler in qualifying rounds, except certain Formula One Grand Prix races where a sprint race is scheduled, while drivers are given a certain amount of time, which decreases in the next qualifying round to complete a timed lap. In each round, the last 5 cars don't pass on to the next round, and in the third round, 10 cars compete for the pole position. Number 3. Cars. On one side you have Formula One, the pinnacle of engineering and R&D, where even the tiniest component on the car matters, where a detail can change a first place to a second place, where the budget is high enough so that the teams can build their own car, building even the tiniest component that will be used on a race week. A team's engineers can freely focus on every department depending on whether it will give them advantage over the other teams. Moreover, teams can manufacture their own engine, or they can get it from another team or from another manufacturer that doesn't compete in Formula One. So far, teams have the choice of Ferrari, Mercedes, Renault, and Honda. On the other hand, you have the more plain IndyCar series that focuses on equal playing field and uses the same chassis provided by Dallara since 2007, engine choices from Chevrolet and Honda, and a common aero kit is provided to all teams. Furthermore, the budget is set so low that the teams race on spec components, and as a result, the winner can be determined more on the driver's skill rather than the car itself. In the question which series has the fastest car, they both have strengths and weaknesses. While both can surpass 290 kilometers or 180 miles per hour, Formula One cars are built for taking corners fast, thanks to high downforce and acceleration. Meanwhile, IndyCar depends more on top speed that will give an advantage in long straights or oval tracks. Number 4. Pit stops. In both series, drivers try to focus on tire and fuel management. In motorsport, where time and speed is everything, strategy and pit stops are key to winning any race. This is where a team must work with coordination in a fast and an effective way. The average pit stop time differs from both series, and time can be added from bad team coordination, car damage repairs, and even penalties. Formula One is more focused on tires since refueling is not permitted. Every car is restricted to pit at least once, with a choice of soft, medium, and hard for dry weather, or for wet weather, intermediate and full wet, and the average can be around 2 to 3 seconds. However, IndyCar is more strategically focused since refueling is allowed. A car can be faster if it carries lower fuel, and that gives plenty more options on the strategy for each team. Also, the series have 2 different sets of tire compounds in the likes of red and black for dry, and rain for wet weather. In case of a dry weather race, a car must use both compounds until the end of the race, with the exception of rain races. An average pit stop time can last anywhere between 6 and 10 seconds. Number 5. Reward system. It has to be said, IndyCar is a much more unpredictable series than Formula One, which in 2022 has had Ferrari and Red Bull as the only winning teams in the opening 11 races. That meant 4 different drivers, while IndyCar had 6 individual winners at 9 events, with Josef Newgarden 3 and Scott McLaughlin 2 the multiple victors. Only the first 10 finishes in Formula One score points, whereas everyone that participates in an IndyCar race receives a token 5 as a minimum. It's 50 points for the winner, double the Formula One tally, and then a much less steep sliding scale thereafter, and only a 1 point drop for each position after 10th. Double points are on offer at the prestigious Indy 500. While Formula One offers an extra point for the fastest lap of a race and points for the first 8 places in this season's 3 sprint qualifying races, IndyCar also has a few bonus opportunities. There is a point for pole position, 1 for leading a race lap, and 2 for the most laps led in a race, while qualifying for the Indy 500 also offers points for the fast 12 at the front of the grid. Use of more than the permitted number of engines in Formula One means grid penalties, but in IndyCar, it results in 10 points being docked. Number 6. Race calendar. Formula One is, of course, a global series. It is a world championship that features races in Europe, North America, South America, the Middle East, Asia and Australia, and it will be returning to Africa within the next couple of years. However, IndyCar is currently staged exclusively in the United States. It wasn't always this way though. In the past, races were held in England at the now defunct Rockingham Speedway in 2001 and 2002, and Brands Hatch the following year. They've also been held in Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, Japan, Canada, Brazil, Mexico, and Australia. Several of those were very short-lived or even one-offs though, and the 17 Race 2022 campaign is taking place at 14 different venues in the United States. Which of these series do you prefer, or would you like to add any similarities or differences that we missed? Let us know in the comment section below, and while you're down there, please subscribe to F101 and we'll see you in the next video.